Welcome to Down Lineup. I'm here with my host Sunny. How are we feeling today?
Good. I coached my team over the weekend at a tournament. We made
Hmm.
playoffs for the first time.
Okay.
Um, Shout out to my boys Cooper and Lucas. I know you guys aren't watching this, but you guys played like absolute demons over the weekend. So I'm proud of you guys.
And shout out to Rush, man. Let's get into the MLB action that happened over the week. The Yankees, who were your lock of the week, swept the White Sox. Um, Everything went as expected. I don't think there's much to break down here.
Mhm. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. My lock of the week was the Brewers taking the series against the Astros, and then your upset pick was the Astros taking
Mhm.
the series against the Brewers. It turned out the Astros took 2 out of 3 against the Brewers. So Astros on their way back, maybe.
Astros have won like what, 6 games in a row or something like that?
I think they've won 5 out of 6,
Five out of
maybe six out
six.
of
Yeah.
seven.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they're third in the AL West.
Yeah.
Any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
I think the AL West is definitely not as strong as a division as we thought it would be.
Yeah.
Um, Angels are kind of sinking to the bottom. A's have been okay, but
Well, I mean,
they
it's a long season though,
it
you
is,
know?
yeah. But I think it's starting to take form a little bit. I mean, maybe the teams at the top
Yeah.
start to kind of get on a run. But I mean, right now Texas is 500, Houston's 5 games under, the Mariners are a few games over. Not really what you thought like going into the season. Like that's not really how you would picture a month and a half into the season what the division would look like.
Yeah, but somehow those teams will figure out a way.
I think so too.
Yeah, they're very successful teams. So
Yeah. And then for my upset pick of the week, I had the Pirates over the Cubs, which happened. The Pirates took 3 out of 4 against the Cubbies. I think that NL Central is just gonna be like an all-out war between the teams.
yeah,
All of them are
absolutely.
like younger-ish teams.
The
Brewers
Reds
are
aren't really
like,
keeping up right now, but
yeah, the Reds really aren't really. They're not keeping up this season, but they look
yeah,
nice going to the future with Ellie.
yeah,
He's balling out. Pirates, Cubs. I guess those two teams specifically, like they're the teams that could like make a run for the wild card.
yeah.
Cardinals have kind of sank a little bit, and the Brewers are kind of just out ahead. But I think it's gonna be a war among all those teams in the NL Central. And then the Padres took the first 2 games against the Braves. They ended up taking game 3 today, and then I think they lost the last game of the doubleheader. So overall, they took 3 out of 4 against the Braves. That was your upset series of the week,
Hmm.
or that was yeah, I think that was one of your picks for the week.
Hmm.
So any quick thoughts on that?
No,
Yeah,
not
and
really.
then lastly, the Orioles took 2 out of 3 from the Mariners. It was one of our series of the week. The Padres series actually also series of the week, actually, if I remember correctly. Um, the Orioles are legit. That's my real thoughts on it. And the Mariners, they can learn from it
I think it
as
more
they
just
go.
pointed out like the flaws of like what the Mariners get. Like
Mhm.
it really pointed out what the Mariners' problems are.
And it
It
really
really like
highlighted, like,
magnified it.
I think it really highlighted the Orioles' strength too.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
their bats are good, and their
Yeah,
pitching is
not to
like,
take it away from them.
yeah,
Yeah,
their pitching has been pretty solid too.
yeah.
Um, we can get into our weekly awards. So my player of the week is Aaron Judge, batted 500, 10 of 20. He had 3 homers, 5 RBIs, 7 runs, and a 630 on base percentage. So he's turned it around, kind of proven all the guys who were worried about him to start the year. He's back on track. He's back being super hot.
For my player of the week, I had Luis Matos. Um, the outfielder for the Giants. I mean, for the last 7 days, this dude has had 16 RBIs. Unbelievable stuff. I mean, you
Mhm.
look at the average, it's like 385 over past 7 days. Like, oh, he's like great, but not as great as like guys who are hitting like Kevin Pillar, who's hitting like 500 right now, over 500 over the past week. But I mean, 16 ribbies with 19 total bases over just a stretch of 7 days. That's undeniable production for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like producing when the guys are on base. I mean,
Yeah,
to have 16 RBIs opportunities is crazy in
yeah,
itself, but like to be able to convert on 16 is
yeah.
is unheard of.
Even bigger feat.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then the team of the week, I have the Yankees. They went undefeated over the week. They swept the Twins in Minnesota. The Twins are coming in really hot, and they kind of ran into a buzzsaw, the Yankees.
Yeah, I also have the Yankees. I was
Hmm.
debating the Phillies too. The Phillies keep jumping back on the number one on power rankings.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, the Phillies are showing that they are more than just their injuries for sure.
Hmm.
Which is why I want to make an honorable mention. But I mean, can't deny the Yankees either right now.
Yeah.
They also got
Um,
injured guys, so
I know. This Yankees team, I mean, as a Yankees fan, it gives me hope to see like what happens when we're fully healthy, when we get DJ back, when we get the Martian back, when we get Garrett
yeah,
Cole back.
yeah,
And I mean, if they can get it together going to the playoffs, like
yeah.
playing this type of ball, I mean, they're
Yeah.
World Series bound. Going to the preview, next week, what do you have for your series of the week?
Our series of the week. Okay, so I kind of have the series of the week and the upset of the week as the same one. I think the
Okay.
Padres are going to upset the Yankees. And I think it's going to be a great series.
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
really interested to see how the Padres play against essentially like, I mean, you could say the Dodgers are the Yankees of the NL, but you could also say the Yankees are the Dodgers of the AL.
Hmm.
They are just like the biggest powerhouse, big name teams. And the Padres have a knack for beating powerhouse big name teams. It's just how it is. And I know the Dodgers series is absolutely like just ridiculously personal for them when it's never a competition division at all for us. I just like to say that. Yeah. But I mean, I'm really interested to see how the Padres will play. Their pitching
Hmm.
has been pretty elite right now. Their hitting, is okay. Guys like Hassan Kim, Machado haven't really hit as well as they could be. Um, I think it'll be a great series though.
Yeah, I mean, watching that series against the Braves, I mean, it shows that they can like hang with the big guys.
Yeah.
My biggest thing with the Padres is like with the guys, with the addition of Arias, and the emergence of a guy we're gonna talk about later, everyone's got to move down a couple lineup spots.
Yeah.
Machado's been, batting five, I don't know if he's batting six yet, but he's been lower down. Bogarts is batting sixth.
Yeah.
Hassan Kim's batting ninth now. And
Yeah.
it's like, how is this going to kind of fit in? Is this going to like be a mold where, the bottom of the lineup kind of like converts the guys at the top, have the safety of the guys,
Yeah.
middle of the order?
Yeah.
Like, can Machado get back, to being that guy who was MVP level?
They just need their
And
superstars to be superstars.
right. And if Bogarts can like be a serviceable doubles guy, driving
Yeah.
runs, then I mean,
Yeah.
this lineup's unstoppable. But like, if you
Yeah.
have those holes in the lineup, then it's like, how much can you do with like getting on base and not like finishing?
I mean, Hassel Kim went from being the leadoff hitter
Right,
at one point to being the nine hitter. Like the lineup has no consistency whatsoever.
right. And like if they can get some consistency, they could be a playoff contender,
Yeah, but
maybe
that's the
even a
Padres'
like
biggest problem is
yeah,
consistency.
yeah. That's what I got in the Padres.
Yeah.
Um, for my series of the week, I had the Phillies Rangers. Phillies are number one power rankings,
Yeah.
the best team in the league right now.
Yeah.
And the Rangers, they're the champions of last year. And they haven't got off to the start that, they really wanted to. They're
Mhm.
500 right now, like I said
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
It's been interesting to see, kind of the best team of last year per se versus the best team of this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be a series where a lot of eyes are going to be watching. That's what I think. I'm going to be watching too. It's going to catch my eye for my best series of the week.
Yeah.
And then for the upset series of the week, I got the Mets over the Giants. The Mets haven't had much consistency. I think they're just under 500, if I'm not mistaken, right now. Um, but the Giants also haven't had that consistency either. I
Yeah.
think these are two teams that have playoff aspirations.
Yeah.
The Mets right now are 5 games under. The Giants are right about 500. So I think, it's kind of a series to distinguish yourself. Um, and I think the Mets, it's in New York, so I don't know if it matters that the West Coast team going east. But I think just the Mets, having that playoff aspiration in the big city, you're gonna play hard against teams that have the same level as you. And I see the Mets taking the series.
Yeah. I mean, the Mets kind of need their stars to pick up. Lindor's
Hmm.
hitting 193 this year. He's
Hmm.
not the same Cleveland Lindor we once knew.
Yep.
I mean, guys like, Pete Alonso's hitting like 229 right now. I mean, The lineup just on paper, when you look at that lineup, you think, oh, they're like a solid team, fighting for
Right,
like a playoff spot every year. Maybe they won't make it, maybe they'll make a wild card, but at least they're fighting. They're just not competing right now.
right.
I mean, their pitching is, I mean, they have no Kodai Senga still, right?
No, he's still out.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, they don't have their ace. Their pitching's like mid at best. Their hitting hasn't been great. Their superstars are producing. I mean, it's kind of just a Mets problem. I feel
Yeah.
like it's been a big problem for them for a while.
I
I
think,
mean, it's not like they don't have money.
right. I think this is a chance for the Mets to kind of like show up a little bit.
Yeah,
I got them taking the series of the Giants, but I'm not gonna be surprised if the Giants win the series.
yeah.
My lock of the week is the Blue Jays over the White Sox.
Mhm.
This is one where the White Sox just look
Gotta keep
terrible.
picking on the White Sox.
It's something, I wanted to pick the Orioles over the White Sox in the
Yeah,
weekend series, but I already picked the Orioles earlier this year.
yeah.
So I'm going with the Blue Jays, a little bit riskier pick, but the White Sox, other than like two series against the Rays, and I forgot who else it was against, they've looked terrible. I mean, there's no heart, there's like no hitting. The pitching hasn't been that good either. But yeah, I'll take the Blue Jays over the White Sox.
For me, I got the Diamondbacks over the Marlins. I mean, the Marlins at this point, we all know the Marlins are like ready to give out all their players
Mhm.
away. Like it's a freaking, you know, like left and right. I mean, the rebuild is starting in Miami. We all know
Yeah.
it. Um, I mean, and the Diamondbacks offense is just way too high powered to lose against the Marlins, especially with the Marlins' biggest problem in pitching, I see the Diamondbacks sweeping that for sure.
Yeah. Um, I think the teams at the bottom are gonna really like sink down. There's a couple teams where I think, they might be pushing that most losses in a season record. So we'll see. Marlins are one of those teams. White Sox are one of those teams. So
Definitely the White Sox.
we're both picking on those teams.
Yeah.
The only real bit of news I got is Giants outfielder Jung Ho Lee is out for the season with a torn labrum after he collided with
Yeah.
the wall.
Yeah.
This is just unfortunate for him. He was having a pretty good year, I believe. You know, and I think he was starting to turn around a little bit. He got on a close stretch, but a real good contact bat. Um, just a guy at the top of the Giants lineup who provided, I say, like average in a team that like kind of needed some batting average.
Yeah.
Um,
Hopefully he can recover from this, mentally and physically. It's really sucks. It's gotta suck.
mhm.
You just moved from internationally, just signed a big contract, kind of like the guy, like, oh, like you're kind of like the guy that's gonna like change things around for us, Or like, I mean, the Giants have only made the playoffs once in the past like 5 years, but just to go out like that really sucks for him.
Yeah. I know like coming into the season, a lot of people thought it was an overpay. He kind
Yeah,
of proved them wrong early in the year.
yeah,
He got off to a pretty good start.
yeah,
I'd say at least with this, it's an injury where you're not really like it's not something you have to do frequently. Like
yeah,
he tore his labrum running into the wall, which
yeah,
you want him to be aggressive in outfield making plays,
yeah,
but I don't want to. I'd say like in terms of like mentally, I would say this is one of the injuries where you're less concerned about like the mental toll and
yeah,
more like concerned about like can he physically get back to like
yeah,
trusting that shoulder,
yeah,
um, and hitting you gotta use your whole body and
yeah,
not trusting your shoulder is going to lead to a lot of mechanical
yeah,
issues.
yeah. A little bit of other news. I guess it's like the week of like star closers blowing saves or something. Edwin Diaz blew,
Mhm.
I believe, not even a save opportunity, right? Like a 4-run lead against the Marlins or something like that.
I think yeah, it might have been two or three straight blown saves. He's had a struggle of a week.
Yeah, I hear that he's stepping down from the closer role,
Mhm.
um, which is which is crazy to think about. I mean, he was kind of that guy,
Yeah. Um,
and
I got a question for you on that. So I'm gonna confirm this real quick, but uh, I think manager Carlos Mendoza that came out and said that like he's gonna it's gonna be a more fluid closer role,
Yeah.
and he's gonna like wait for Diaz to get his confidence back up.
Yeah.
Do you think this is helping that?
No, definitely not. It kind of shows, okay, like we know this isn't what it is, but if you
Hmm.
look at it from Diaz's perspective, you think the organization has no faith in you anymore, you know? Like they're exploring other options. At this point, your confidence is already shot, you know?
Hmm.
But at the same time, like it would take like a mature closer to understand that like you can't just keep going in there and just like do the same thing over and over and expect a different result.
So, I mean, I know you coach, and it's a little bit different at lower levels, but
Yeah,
are you a believer in like making lineup, like being quick to make lineup changes? Like if a guy's struggling, if your two hitter is
yeah,
struggling, right?
yeah,
Would you move him down to maybe batting six or seven? And then like vice versa. If a guy's, on a hot streak, are you quick to move him up? And then like pitching wise, if a reliever's hot,
yeah,
are you a guy who likes to keep it fluid and like make those changes, or are you a guy who
yeah.
like kind of believes in keeping the consistency?
I think a little bit of both. I think there's a fine line in coaching where you have to look at your pitch on the mound.
Hmm.
And like just recently, we had a playoff game and we were just on torn on our starter. He threw like 40 pitches in the first inning.
Hmm.
It was pretty freaking bad. And he throws gas too. I mean, and coach and I are just, we're just talking in a dugout. Like, do we talk to him? Do we not talk to him? Do we let him figure it out? It's all about balance because you don't want to go out there and stress him out even more, right? But you also want to go out there and like reassure him, tell him it's
I think in a game to game status, I think I'm
it
fine
just
with.
varies.
I feel like it's fine game to like in terms of like per game. Like if
Yeah,
your reliever's struggling, have a quick hook. I'm fine
yeah.
with that. But I feel like in the long term, like what the Mets are doing with Diaz, I mean,
Well, it's
if you
just different for them because they're pros. This is their job. Like it's not like they're playing like,
Mhm.
youth club baseball where they like flip around every position. Like he is a closer.
Right,
That is what he
and
was paid to do.
my thinking is like, he's paid to be the closer. He signed a
Yeah,
big deal.
exactly.
Like I'd say this is a pretty quick hook. I mean, yes, it's a pretty bad week. He blew two or three saves,
Yeah,
but I mean, in terms of like the long run, if the Mets really do have these, playoff aspirations, you need that lockdown closer. And how much of that is going to get into his head later down the year? Let's say he gets that closer spot back, which all of us believe he will. He's too good of a pitcher not to figure it out, right? How much is it going to be in his head? Like when he has one bad outing, right? Knowing that hook's right there around the corner, they've done it already. It's just, it's baffling to me, the fact that like they came out and said it's for his confidence reasons. If they were to say, we want to like move on or something, that's one thing. But I mean, the fact that they're doing this for his confidence, I don't know if this is really helping his confidence, having this quick little hook. But I mean, like you said, they're pros. They probably understand. And from a fan perspective, change is needed. Um, I know if I see a closer that's not getting the job done, I'm quick to, hey, let's get another guy in there. Uh, but just trying to think from the player's perspective, I feel like having the team trust you, even when you go through the rush stretch, is kind of key. And I mean, I feel like that's how I would approach it.
especially if you're a guy like him who gets that much money.
Mhm.
You hope that your team has a little more faith in you, but at the same time, you can't just keep losing them games. So it's
Yeah,
like it's a fine line.
yeah. Let's move on to the bulk of the episode, which is our favorite stories throughout the season. So I came up with a few topics, just some storylines that we're seeing emerging a month and a half into the season. So the first one is our favorite breakout players. Some young players who are finally getting the opportunity to play, and they're emerging as guys who are, who they were, guys who weren't known and now becoming more established. Um, do you want to go first with your first guy?
Yeah, I got CJ Abrams.
Hmm.
CJ Abrams is kind of like a must pick for something like this. I mean, he's constantly improving.
Right.
And it really puts into light like how bright the future is for the Nats, and we can't keep overstating this enough.
Hmm.
The Nats are looking mean, like Orioles mean
Yeah.
within the next like 5 to 7 years.
Yeah. Right now he's batting 269, 7 homers, 21 RBIs, and an 811 OPS.
Yeah,
I also had him as one of my candidates for breakout players. And my
yeah,
big thing is the patience the Nationals like had on him. You know, when they
yeah,
traded Soto for him, it was a lot of it was like, this guy, like he's gonna be the guy who's the next, big name for us.
yeah.
And in the first couple of years, it seemed like, oh, the Padres definitely won that trade. They got Soto. They made a deep run to the postseason in 22. But now, like now that Soto's gone, it really looks like, CJ Abrams, if he continues this rise, and considering how young he is, considering the guys they have in their system, I just think, CJ Abrams is establishing himself as, the future of the Nationals, along with, the guys who are in the minor league system who show this much potential. Having a guy
Absolutely.
develop like and kind of demonstrate what potential can be
Yeah.
is going to help that organization. One of the guys I had is Bryce Kerrang. Currently, he's batting 314 with 2 homers, 17 RBIs, 18 stolen bases, and an 800 OPS. This is one of those guys, in an age where power and like launch angle is really being focused on. Turing is a guy who's like that old school get on base and then steal bags type of guy. And I really like that for the Brewers, especially with Contreras in the middle of the lineup. Adames is a pretty good power bat. Yelich, drives and runs. Having a guy who can get on base and then get to second base, put runners in scoring position, I think is really going to help the Brewers if they want to make a deep run in the postseason.
For another one that I got Andy Pajes. He's hitting 265 right now, which isn't, too great. He's got 5 home runs. He's played in 30 games, so he's about a month in. He's hit 5 home runs, which is pretty solid for a guy who's never seen major league pitching before. His defense is way above average. He's brought this sort of like jolt to the offense. The Dodgers weren't really hitting well. Outman wasn't doing great. He just recently got option. CT3 is, I mean, like he's a great guy, but he's hitting like freaking 040. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Mhm.
like, and Austin Barnes isn't hitting great either. He's never been a great hitter. He's kind of there because he's a great teammate and he's Kershaw's battery mate. Um, Paul has brought a spark, a kind of spark that the Mariners were looking for from Class A, or like the kind of spark the Orioles were looking from Holiday, or like how the Pirates are looking from Skiing, something like that.
Mhm.
And he wasn't really, all talked about, but he's kind of just been quietly producing for the Dodgers, especially with a team with that much firepower.
Yeah. I like the spark that he brings. I mean, with like Holiday, Skeens, Clase, they're like the top prospects.
Yeah,
So, I mean, to a degree, like it's bringing the spark, but also like seeing if they're ready. I
yeah,
think with Pajes, it's like the outfield wasn't really a position of need per se,
yeah,
but the fact that he's been able to come up and produce, it's just like it helps like round up and like balance out the lineup for the Dodgers.
yeah,
As much as like we talk about the top of the lineup, guys at the bottom and like middle to bottom, guys like Teo, guys like Muncy, guys like Pajes, if they were to produce, right, then there's no saying like what the limit for the Dodger season can be. But if you got guys who really aren't doing too much at the bottom of the lineup, then it's like, okay, we can pitch around a guy like Otani and Freeman or Will Smith to get to the guys in the middle and bottom of the lineup. And like if you have the confidence to get around them, then like you can kind of navigate this Dodgers lineup carefully and like limit the damage. But
yeah.
if guys at the bottom are producing like this and bringing sparks, even just like giving the energy, it's like, well, now you got to like pitch to the big guns. Yeah. My next guy is Ryan Jeffers, catcher for the Twins. Batting 267, 268, 10 homers, 31 RBIs, and a 922 OPS. This one is just the power. I mean, his career high in homers is 14, and he's at 10 right now. And it's just interesting, the Twins, are making a run for the AL Central. The Guardians, currently at the top, and it's gonna be a battle throughout the year. And Jeffers being like a dependable power bat is just something that like they didn't really have. Um, and going to the year, the expectations of the Twins were really like fluctuating. But if they have a power guy in the middle there, along with Correa,
Hmm.
along with
Hmm.
Julian at the top,
Hmm.
it's just like like more fuel to how far the Twins can go this year.
Yeah, especially with Byron Buxton, he's just
Mhm,
always freaking hurt. I mean, that's just his biggest problem. The Twins need a guy like Ryan Jeffers to
mhm.
like spark up the offense.
Byron
You
Buxton
know,
and Royce Lewis.
yeah, exactly. I mean, they need a power guy, a guy who can hit for average, and that's just what he brings. He brings hits, he brings ribbies, he brings home runs.
Mhm.
It's a solid hitter.
Yeah.
For my third, I have Anthony Volpe. Volpe is currently hitting like 270 right now. He was tearing up at the beginning of the season. He's on a 13 game hitting streak right now. I mean, he's just kind of emerged into like a solid, dependable option for the Yankees. The Yankees in a team full of, just absolute power guys. Volpe kind of brings like a sort of balance to the lineup. He brings a good amount of speed, brings good defense, brings good power. He's got 6 home runs, which isn't bad. He brings hits.
Yeah. With Volpe, it's a tale of two. I guess like it's been kind of up and down season. At the beginning of the year, he was tearing it up. Got moved to
Yeah,
the leadoff spot, struggled a little bit, and then he's figured it out now on a
yeah,
13 game hitting streak, like you
yeah,
said. And I think with the Yankees, all they want to do is get on base and use that speed, especially with the four guys after him.
yeah.
Um, and if he can emerge, and he has, but if he can continue to emerge as a high average, high speed with a little bit of power in his bat, I think
Yankees have a
he,
little Bobby Witt Jr. in their
yeah,
lineup then.
I mean, he did win the Gold Glove, so he's a solid defender too.
Yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
I'm excited to see what
He's only
Volpe can do.
23. He's only
Right.
23. So
And then staying on the same team with my Yankees, I got Luis Gil. He was only called up because Garrett Cole got hurt and the Yankees needed a fifth starter. But he has taken that and kind of ran with it. He has a 5-1 record, a 2.39 ERA, 1.08 WHIP, 62 strikeouts, and he leads the league in batting average against. And he's really helped the Yankees cover the absence of Garrett Cole. And now the Yankees kind of have a problem because their pitching has been so like dependable, especially the starters,
a
that
pretty
like
good problem to have.
yeah, now that Garrett Cole's coming back, it's like, will they go to a six man and give Garrett Cole extended rest,
Yeah,
to nurse that elbow? Will they move somebody to the bullpen? Will they move someone down? It's just like there's no room for Cole, which is kind of something like that you never expect to say
yeah.
when you first heard of Cole's injury at the
There's
start of the year.
definitely room for Cole somewhere.
I think there's definitely room for Cole somewhere, but it's like if you're gonna have to demote
Someone's get
somebody,
someone's getting demoted.
yeah. The next category we had is our favorite revivals.
Well,
Um,
actually, just a sec. You could also run a 6 man so that Garrett Cole
that's what I was
doesn't
saying. Yeah,
stress his arm out from injury.
right. If you run a six man, give Garrett Cole extra rest,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just like limit the stress on his elbow, especially coming back from
yeah,
an injury.
exactly.
Getting to the next one, our favorite revivals, some old players, some UNC status players coming back, having a
Yeah.
bounce back season.
Salvador Perez.
Yeah.
This dude, like you said, bro, he's just the unk who's like going off for absolutely no reason right now. Back in my day, he is absolutely tearing it up right now. He's hitting 337. He's for sure an all-star. His defense, isn't as great as it once was, but it's still there.
Mhm.
At 34, his knees aren't getting any better. Like, he is only gonna be on the MLB on the Royals for so long. It's great to see him, kind of because most guys, when you look at the back end of their career, it's always, numbers slow down. I mean, it's really great to see a guy, pick it up as his age goes.
Mhm. I think him being the old guy on such a young team, it kind of accelerated the timeline for the Royals.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 29-19 right now, 2 games back of first place. And like if the Royals are going to be in the playoffs this year and get that experience with Salvi having this such like a revival year,
Yeah.
like imagine when they don't need Salvi anymore and like a few years down the line when they have like a balanced and a young core.
Yeah.
Is this gonna be the fun, 2015 Royals again?
Yeah.
And I think just like Salvi being that consistency kind of like it rubs off on the younger guys.
Yeah.
A guy I had is James Paxton. You know, he's kind of bounced around these last couple of years, and now he's on the Dodgers. He's kind of found his footing. 5-0 with a 2.84 ERA, 1.38 WHIP, 24 strikeouts, not the biggest strikeout guy anymore, but this is kind of like back to when he was with the Mariners. Um, a solid, starter in a rotation where, you can depend on him. He might have a few bad starts here and there, but he gives you like length and he gives you a lefty arm that's that's just there. That's coming in day out, and you can kind of trust to get a little bit out of him.
Yeah. I mean, he's a big lefty. He's an imposing presence on the mound, even though he doesn't throw that hard. His motion's a little wacky. Something Dodgers just need pitching. He's playing for a really good hitting lineup, so the stress is not there for him at all. There's no pressure on him to like pitch perfectly. I mean, he's really thriving right now. He's just happy to be out there. That's just
Mhm.
how it is. Since James Paxton was my second option, I got Yu Darvish as my third. He kind of, I wouldn't say fell off the last couple of years. He just wasn't really doing as great. You never really heard his name too much. He's kind of, as he's gotten older though, and this year especially, he's kind of learned how to utilize his 8 to 10 pitch mix. He's kind of learning that he can't overpower guys anymore. We saw him kind of try to do it as he gets older, try to just pump fastballs past guys, which just isn't working for him anymore. I think he's kind of realized that. So he's kind of utilizing his arsenal now. Really, his tunneling is elite. He pitched amazing a couple weeks ago. Um, and I believe he's at 200 wins now, right? Between the
Mm.
NPB and MLB combined, which is like third all time or something like that.
Yeah, I think with you, Darvish, it's like you said, it's just like he learned how to like
Like adapt
pitch
to
with
his
finesse.
age. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, you kind of hit the point, pitching with finesse, not overpowering
Yeah.
guys and tunneling and like using his like different pitch mix.
Yeah. Rather than
Um,
just trying to like blow fastballs every time. It wasn't working for him. He was giving up so many home runs.
yeah. I'll stay on the same team. I got Jerks and Profar for my next guy. He's batting 335, 7 homers, 31 RBIs, and 942 OPS. Profar is the guy I was mentioning earlier who kind of pushed everyone down the lineup a little bit. He's middle of the batting order. He's been getting on base, and like I said earlier, if Machado and like Bogarts can just drive him in, the Padres can take off. But Profar, like kind of staying on Profar, he's kind of resurged. He had a tough year last year, splitting time between the Rockies and the
Definitely.
Padres.
Yeah.
And now that he's kind of found a home, it's like he he trusts himself and he's been able to play looser than like in the past when he's trying to like play for a spot on the team, play for a role. And
I mean, if you let a guy settle in, he'll really show you what he's made of. That's
yeah.
for sure.
Mhm. And then just another guy I want to highlight is Reese Hoskins. He's not batting for average, 233 average, but he has 9 homers and 27 RBIs with an 814 OPS. We mentioned Turing earlier, and then I mentioned Yelich, Contreras, Adames as guys who have power. If Reese Hoskins can bring that power to the Brewers lineup, I mean, then you got power guys up and down that lineup. And then like the Brewers, if they want to establish themselves with the big guys, the Dodgers and the Braves and the Phillies and whatnot, they need something to like stand out. And if they use that power, I mean, power makes deep runs. If
Yeah.
you can hit homers, you can go deep in the postseason.
Yeah. You got it. pretty much.
The third category is our favorite role finders. So these are guys who kind of like found new roles and are thriving now.
Yeah, I think we both have it. So I'll just say it for us. We got Hicks.
Mhm.
Obviously converting and signing that starting pitcher contract with the Giants. Um, Let me just make sure I have the stats correct because
I
I
can I
didn't
can get the stats.
look at it too long.
He's four
He's
and
got,
one with the
yeah,
2.38 ERA, 1.11 with 40 strikeouts.
yeah. I mean, he's had like a 9 strikeout game against the Pirates. But he's showing that he's not only a strikeout guy, that he doesn't give up many hits most of the time. 3 to 4 hits a game is a really solid work. Usually,
Mhm.
he's had a few rough starts against like the Dodgers and the Rockies for some reason. But he usually is a 1 run to no run game per guy. If he really just settles in even more into that role,
Mhm.
in another 2 years' time, I mean, he could be, like a really, really, really good Bobby Miller,
Mhm.
something like that.
I think, his focus, like focusing away from being a closer and just throwing as hard as you can for one
Yeah,
inning and kind of lengthening it out, like throwing a little bit less hard, but
yeah,
having more control and more
yeah,
length. I think it really helped him because
yeah,
when he was with closer, you saw the velocity, but you also saw that him being wild.
yeah,
And there was something in him where you could see the control and like how you could use him as a guy who gives you length. And the Giants kind of took that to a new level. Let him be a starter and just let him, throw with more finesse, throw like still as hard as he does, but still throw with like more control.
yeah.
And I mean, he's showing that to be a success right now. You kind of mentioned it, like he's been really good with the starting pitcher like contract. Um, I had Jordan Hicks as well. So another guy I have is Abraham Toro. On the A's, he's batting 295 with 4 homers, 17 RBIs, and a 792 OPS. Toro's been like the veteran guy now on the A's. The new role is just being like the leader in the clubhouse. He's batting his above average bat, and on an A's team that's not expected to be contending for playoffs, he just helps them like become better hitters. We saw Asher Ruiz kind of break out at the beginning of the year, and now we're seeing Brent Rooker, Shea Langeliers, and some other guys kind of like round out their game a little bit and just kind of like wrap up on Toro. He's a guy who could be a possible deadline guy. So he's going to be like another, just like pinch hit bats, a guy who can play around the infield and provide a little bit spark on the bench.
Um, my second one, I got Mason Miller.
Mhm.
We found out right before the podcast, that he had like 6 starts last year. I could have sworn he started. So, because I've never heard of Mason Miller as a closer. I feel
Mhm.
like not really, like truly. I mean, do I need to explain it? Like he's him.
Yeah.
Like he throws 102 on the dot, on the black.
Yeah.
Like, how do you compete with that? And then he throws a wild like slider with like a 10 mile per hour difference in wicked movement. It's
Mhm.
kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, we kind of just found out he was a starter, but he started from majority of his appearances last year. I think the A's kind of turning him into a bullpen guy. Um, it's worked wonders. I mean, this guy might get moved. Maybe he doesn't get moved. He's still super young.
He's definitely
Uh,
worth a lot now.
yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Mhm. My last guy is Seth Lugo, 7-1 record with 1.79 ERA, 0.98 WHIP, 58 strikeouts. He's not necessarily like an old star, but he's transitioned to a starter and thrived on the Royals. I'm really interested to see how his season progresses, just because he's been a reliever for a long time on the Mets, and now he's a guy who's expected to go deeper into games on a contending team. So yeah, it just really intrigued me how he's made the transition to a starter, and he's been pretty good, more than pretty good.
To me again.
Yeah.
I mean, for my third player, Munoz.
Yeah.
Okay, just hear me out on this one. Munoz last year was, you know, he never really established into the closer role.
Mhm.
Munoz this year, up until that Brewers series, like, and after that, like right after that Brewers series was over, like you could say that like Munoz was not the option for the Mariners as a closer. Like it was getting to that point.
Mhm.
Ever since that point, Munoz has a 1.76 ERA now. He's top 10 in the league in saves. He's got a, I mean, he's been a awesome option for the Mariners out of the pen at just 25 years old. I mean, he's just showing that he's continuing to develop, continuing to just pitch for his team, continuing to want to pitch for his team as a closer. And just today, we saw him pitch against the Yankees in a high leverage situation where he took on Soto, Judge, and Volpe, and just shoved. So
Yeah.
I got Munoz. I mean, he's settling into that closer role. I believe he is going to be a top like 3 closer in the next 2 years. I'm calling it right now.
And he's young too.
Exactly. So much development waiting for it to happen for him.
Mhm. We can move on to our final category, which is our favorite new situations. These are players who are blossoming on a new team. Um, I got one that's pretty obvious, I think. I think
I
you
think I
have it
got
as
the same
well.
one. Yeah.
It's Chris Sale. He's 6-1 right now in the Braves, with a 2.54 ERA, point oh or 0.88 whip, 61 strikeouts. On a Braves team who's missing Spencer Strider, Chris Sale is just, kind of replaced that. An old ace. He knows what it is to be an ace. Um, yeah, he's been amazing this year with the Braves.
He's kind of like the ace, but not really. Like there's no
Mhm.
pressure of him being an ace, but he is the ace, you know?
Yeah.
Like if he like messes up or if he has a bad start, it's like, oh, like either the offense didn't help you out, or like what are we expecting out of him? But when he
Hmm.
pitches great, it's like, oh, he's got the experience, I mean, he plays for a very, very solid Atlanta Braves lineup
Hmm.
with Ozuna absolutely tearing it up, Olsen starting to heat up, Acuna is, yeah, I don't know about Acuna, to be honest. Did you see that error
Yeah, that
that he
was
made?
interesting.
Dude, I was like, I thought I was watching myself play.
I was trying to figure out, did he lose the ball? Did he
I don't know.
misread
It's
the
just a bad
ball?
angle he like grabbed it at.
Hmm.
Try to grab it at,
Maybe.
you know what I'm saying? Like, because he was trying to like grab it low, right?
Yeah.
But he has like glove up like this, like straight up. A 5-year-old.
I think he just got a little bit too low for him.
Yeah.
My next guy is a guy on the same team, Ronaldo Lopez. He's 2-1 right now, so the record doesn't show, but he has a 1.54 ERA, 1.07 whip, 44 strikeouts. And he's just another a Brave starter who's thriving in this like vacated role. And last year it was a lot of like Strider being dominant, and then like, Max Free was up and down. I think he dealt with an injury, and there was no like back end help. Now, there's Ronaldo Lopez, Chris Sale. They've kind of like solidified that back end and provided like a four pitcher rotation that kind of matches like the production of Strider in one game.
I mean, the Braves are a lot like the Phillies, which
Hmm.
I know like people are gonna hate making that comparison together. But the
Hmm.
Phillies and Braves have both shown that with injury, and you can even throw the Yankees in there, to be honest.
Yeah.
With injury, it doesn't matter who is injured. They are an elite and very a team. Their team's full of depth.
Hmm.
Like they got guys who can pick up the slack for the guys who are gone, the guys who aren't playing as well. You got guys who can step it up when they need to at all times. Those 3 teams right there are very comparable in
Hmm.
that sense.
Yeah.
I got Juan Soto for my next one. I mean, they're like pretty obvious picks to be honest, but like how can you deny that Juan Soto like isn't loving New York? And
Yeah.
I heard was listening to a Yankees podcast the other day, and looks like they're already in talks about an extension, which is I know it's super exciting news for Yankees fans
Mhm.
because I mean they're gonna experience a lot of success for as long as Juan Soto plays baseball. So
Yeah, not much to say. I mean, he's an obvious pick. I didn't really pick him just because I felt
yeah,
like it he didn't really like thrive in a new like situation. More like
yeah,
he embraced it. I mean, playing in New York, it's not an easy thing to do
yeah,
as playing in any big city isn't.
yeah,
But I mean, he's come in and just been amazing. And he's like been every like worth every penny of what we traded to
yeah,
get him.
yeah,
So it's yeah, really encouraging to hear that they're in talks of an extension.
yeah.
If he avoids free agency, I mean, I think that's a big win for the Yankees.
And he's a Boris client, right?
Yeah,
So it's gonna be interesting.
I mean, the one note about that is Boris kind of had a tough season, last off season. I mean,
Yeah.
all of his
So maybe
clients
he's
didn't
looking
get
to like
long
just get
term.
so maybe he's just looking to get something long term and like set
I
quick.
mean, yeah, that and like Altuve got something long term
Yeah,
with before
true.
even hitting free agency. So I
Yeah.
mean, is that the new Boris route?
Well,
Maybe.
Altuve was just kind of meant to, play for
Yeah,
Houston. Like, could you ever imagine him playing for a different team?
no, but I
Absolutely
mean,
not.
you could almost say the same about Soto. I mean, he's having so much fun in New York,
Yeah.
and obviously he'll have fun anywhere he goes. But I
I
mean,
think it's Altuve's situation.
I think so too. I mean, it's a big city for him, and like, I think he thrives under the pressure. I mean, he came up when he was 19, won a
Mhm.
World Series when he was 20, I think. Like, he's built for the moment.
I mean,
Uh,
he definitely knows what it's like to be clutch for
yeah.
sure. So,
Speaking of clutch, I got Juan Soto's corner outfield mate, Alex Verdugo. He's batting 244, 5 homers, 21 RBIs, and a 715 OPS, but the stats don't show his value. I mean, he's a guy who just doesn't strike out. And, the Yankees, as much power as they have, they do tend to strike out quite a bit. Rizzo, Stanton, Judge, all guys who might, whiff a little bit. I think putting Verdugo in that cleanup spot where he's been playing now, it helps like give support because when there's runners on base, Verdugo makes his living there. He drives and runs, and when there's runners on base, the strikeout. Said this last week. The strikeout's the worst type out you can have. A double play is just like disheartening because you hit the ball hard and it doesn't show. But a strikeout's like you didn't like hit the ball hard at all. You didn't like
he didn't hit the ball
right.
at
You didn't
all.
produce anything. Like there was no like
Yeah.
best case scenario. And with Verdugo like providing contact, it's like you give Judge the opportunity to swing away. And if he
Yeah.
strikes out, you have trust that the next guy is going to be able to
Yeah.
put the ball in play and give you a chance to score.
Yeah.
And I think that's like what I
Setting
really
up
like about Houston too.
opportunities for your players.
Yeah. And I think in
Yeah.
Boston, he was kind of like the guy, one of the guys at the top of the lineup.
Yeah.
Um, Now in New York, he's not one of the like core guys, but he's
Yeah.
as valuable as them
Yeah.
in terms of like being a part of this lineup.
For my third, I have Otani.
Yeah.
Shohei. The only reason why I say this is because Shohei was like the savior at LA or Anaheim, I
Hmm.
guess. He was kind of willing a team full of nobodies and Mike Trout. That's very important. And Mike Trout.
And Mike Trout.
Yeah. He was basically willing them to wins every single day. You know, every single day. It's if Otani doesn't play well, the Angels probably lost. And if Otani played well, the Angels probably lost anyways.
Hmm.
You know, Otani on the Dodgers, he doesn't have that pressure anymore. Sure, he signed a big contract, but when you really think about it, he has guys like Betts and Freeman and Smith and Teoscar and Muncy to pick it up for him when he doesn't play well.
Hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, your your stats don't mean anything. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's all
Yeah.
about the wins. And so Shohei in that, in that spot has chosen to become an even better player somehow to the point where media is talking about is he even worth it anymore as a pitcher? Like
Hmm.
his hitting alone makes him worth that much money. He's hitting 353 this year compared to his last MVP year where he was hitting 304. I know it's very early in the season. He's got
Hmm.
11 home runs, which is the NL tied best with Marcell Ozuna. Doesn't strike out often. He's always putting the ball in play. Got plenty of ribbies. The only biggest flaw about Shohei's hitting is that he can't is his hitting with the runners in scoring position, in my opinion.
I mean, there's like a little bit of worry early in the year where it's like, is Otani like what's
Not that
happening?
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, like, he signed such a crazy like contract. It's like,
Yeah.
is Otani like, is he like okay in the Dodgers
Yeah.
uniform? But
Yeah.
then like he went on that rampant stretch, and now it's like, okay, Otani is,
He's their
he's
savior,
yeah,
I
and like
guess. But
he's when he with the bigger market, I'd say, the bigger brother of the two LA
yeah.
teams. And not playing under the shadow of anyone, not being like the guy, the
Yeah.
savior. He's like bought into his role and like played as himself. And I think he's really like established like rapport with the Dodgers.
Yeah, there's no much stress for him. He's just playing to have fun now at this
Hmm.
point, which makes him play even better. So
Yeah. All right. That's the episode. We'll be back next week to do some more recaps and talk about some team expectations. But we'll get into that next week. See ya.